Welcome to Bank Breakers. I'm happy to have you here with us today. Now, it's been a busy week. It's going to be a busier weekend. Rent was due on the 1st, meaning all of us are broke. I need the money, and I think you do too. So, let's get into it. Let's stop wasting time. As always, we open with quarterbacks.
I'm dead sexy.
The first value pick on my list is Jay Cutler. Breathe! Okay, I gave him to you last week and he produced. So what more can you ask? On the season, Cutler has been throwing it 39.6 times a game for 264.4 yards and 1.4 touchdowns, while completing 61.8% of his passes. This week he plays San Diego, who are the 13th ranked defense against the pass and have surrendered on average 238.2 yards a game for 1.75 touchdowns, and have allowed multiple touchdowns to 4 of the 5 opposing quarterbacks and 6 of 8 on the season. With Matt Forte now injured, Cutler should be heavily relied upon to move the offense up and down the field, which means a lot more passing attempts and a lot more touchdowns. My second value pick this week is Derek Carr. Now you might be wondering, but why male models? Because on the season, Carr is throwing it 36.2 times a game for 288.6 yards and 2.5 touchdowns, with 3 of his last 6 games throwing over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns per game. And since the Raiders' bye week, he's averaging 311 yards and has thrown 7 touchdowns. This week, Carr plays the Steelers defense that ranks 26 against the pass, allowing 269.5 yards a game for 1.5 touchdowns. He's a male model, but he's a male model that can toss it. Expect him to have a huge week this week.
I am very, very sneaky, sir.
My hidden gem this week is T squared. Mr. T Scissor, Tyrod Taylor. Before his injury, Tyrod was averaging 30 pass attempts a game for 247 yards per and 2 touchdowns. This week he plays division rival Miami, who ranks 21st in defending the quarterback, surrendering 255 yards a game and 15 total touchdowns. And in their last 3 games, has surrendered 276.3 yards a game and 8 total touchdowns. These teams have met in week 3, and when they did, Tyrod torched the Miami D for 277 yards through the air and 3 touchdowns. The man was a beast in the beginning of the year. Expect him to get back on the train now that he's healthy.
Wild card, bitches!
My dart throw this week is Kirk Cousins. You like that? You like that? On the year, Kirk Cousins is throwing it on average for 248.2 yards a game and 1.3 touchdowns. But in his last 5 games, Cousins has tossed it for 267.6 yards a game and 1.5 touchdowns. This week, Cousins plays New England, who are the 16th ranked defense against the pass, allowing 249.4 yards a game and 11 total touchdowns. The Patriots are debatably the best team in the league, and Vegas has set the line at New England at -14. This game is going to be an absolute blowout, meaning a bunch of garbage time passes and touchdowns for Kirk Cousins as they play catch-up. Quarterbacks. Finito, huh? Now we move on to the running back.
I'm dead sexy.
My first value pick I've never given to you guys, so I'm very excited to tell you about him. His name is Jonathan Stewart. In his last 3 games, Jonathan Stewart has been putting in work, rushing for 22.7 attempts a game for 95 yards and 3 total touchdowns. This week he plays Green Bay, who ranks 18th against running backs, surrendering on average 21.6 attempts for 93.6 yards and 1 touchdown per game. I know Carolina's all about Superman, but I'm telling you, Jonathan Stewart will have a big week this week. My next value pick is the Dallas Cowboy. So as always, shoot me in the fucking face. In his last 2 games, McFadden has become the #1 back for Dallas, producing on average 24.5 attempts a game for 108 rushing yards and 1 rushing touchdown. He also pulls 4 receptions a game for 20.5 yards. With Joseph Randle now out, McFadden has become the bell cow back, playing 80.3% of the snaps and reaping 44.7% of the Cowboys' offensive plays. I hate the Cowboys, but I do think McFadden's going to have a good week. My third value pick is a strong little guy that runs like Boone. They call him the muscle hamster. Everyone else knows him as Doug Martin. In his last 4 games, Martin has been given the rock 24.5 times a game for 137.5 yards and 4 total touchdowns. This week he plays the New York Giants, who hate to tackle and have surrendered 102.4 rushing yards a game for 5 total touchdowns to opposing running backs. In addition, they love to let the running back catch it out of the backfield, giving away 6.4 receptions a game for 52.9 yards and 3 total touchdowns. Yeah, I love them, but they're the worst defense in the league. Did you see what the Saints did to them last week? My final value pick reminds me of Monsters, Inc., and I have no idea. Jeremy Langford, Mike Wazowski. On the season, Chicago running backs are accounting for 132.7 yards a game and 5 total touchdowns. Although Matt Forte accounted for 82.3% of those yards and touchdowns, he is now out, and Langford will take over as the 3 down back. This week, Chicago matches up against San Diego, who is the 32nd ranked team against the run, and who have allowed opposing running backs to rush for 110 yards in 4 games this season. No one knows anything about Langford because Matt Forte has been the consummate professional over his career. But given an opportunity in this league, all you can do is succeed. So give it to Langford and let him get you a few touchdowns and some yards.
I am very, very sneaky, sir.
My hidden gem this week is the blonde packing, J-Rollin', blunt smoking, LeGarrette Blount. In the 6 games Blount has played this season, he averages 11.5 carries for 53 yards. But in the 4 games he has carried the ball for over 13 times, he averages 79.3 yards a game with 5 total touchdowns. This week, New England plays Washington, who ranks 14th when defending the run. But New England is the most high-powered offense in the league and favored by 14 points. Meaning after they get up huge, they're going to give the rock to Blount. Here's the game script for you. Tom Brady, the perfect human, throws it for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. They're up by 14, maybe 28, I don't know. They get to the 4th quarter, they're just trying to churn the clock out. They hand it to LeGarrette Blount, I don't know, 20 times. He rushes for 100 yards and maybe 2 touchdowns. That's pretty good, huh?
Wild card, bitches!
My dart throw this week might be known as the worst fantasy pick of the year. I mean, if you pick this guy in your league, you are an idiot. It's C.J. Anderson. On the year, C.J. Anderson averages 11.6 attempts a game for 40.1 yards. But last week, he showed up and carried the rock 14 times for 101 yards and a touchdown. This week, Denver plays Indianapolis, who ranks 27th against the run, surrendering 25.5 carries a game for 103 yards and 1.1 touchdowns. He will also have a very small ownership rate at 1.2%, meaning if he goes off, you will make money. I know he's been an absolute disappointment this week, but this is when you buy low. This is when you get in big, and then we sell them high. Who's with me? Quarterbacks, running backs, wide receiver time.
I'm dead sexy.
My first value play is Mr. Randall. I like to eat corn on the cob. On the season, Cobb averages 5.1 receptions for 53.9 yards. But what's most important is that he plays in the slot 91% of the time, which will give him a ton of opportunity when he squares off against Ben Wickerry of the Carolina Panthers, who grades out as the 11th worst slot corner in the league, and allowed Andre Johnson last week to catch 4 balls for 81 yards and a touchdown. You might like your corn with rice. You might like your corn with chicken. You might just have it with butter. I don't know how you have it, but have it on the cob this week. My next value pick sounds like he won the Daytona 500. The man is fast is what I'm trying to tell you. And it's Stevie Johnson. On the year, Johnson averages 6.2 targets a game for 4 receptions, 47.2 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But with Keenan Allen out, Johnson slides into the #1 wide receiver role and should see many more targets. This week, San Diego hosts Chicago, where Johnson will match up against Sherrick McManus, who is the 7th worst cornerback in the league, surrendering 148.3 QB rating when throwing to him. Johnson has performed at the top tier before, and this is his moment to prove it to the league again. I think he's going to jump on this wagon with me. My next value pick must have the greatest nickname in the locker room. Hey, Coop! Yo, Coop! Hey, Coop! Let me talk to you for a second, Coop. It's Amari Cooper. On the season, Amari is averaging 5.4 receptions for 80.7 yards and 3 total touchdowns. But those numbers are skewed, as he's been plagued by the Denver secondary and Darrelle Revis. This week, the Raiders walk into Pittsburgh, where Cooper will square off against Antoine Blake, who is the 10th worst cornerback in the league, surrendering 62 targets, 44 receptions for 568 yards and 2 touchdowns already this year. Vegas has the over-under of this game at 48.5, so expect a shootout. Vegas has the over-under of this game at 48.5, so expect a shootout. My final value pick is a Jacksonville Jaguar. Hey, don't laugh. Don't laugh. At least let me tell you about him. Don't laugh at the pick already. It's Allen Hurns. On the season, Allen Hurns averages 4.4 receptions for 73.3 yards, but has had a touchdown in each of his past 5 games. This week, Hurns and the Jaguars play the New York Jets, where Darrelle Revis will shadow the number 1 wide receiver, and the number 2 wide receiver will be covered by Antonio Cromartie, who grades out as the 20th worst cornerback in the league. In the 3 games where Allen Robinson has been shadowed, Hurns averages 6 receptions for 82 yards and 2 total touchdowns. Yeah, we're all under this spell where we think the Jets are the best secondary in the league, but they just got torched by the Raiders, and Allen Hurns is going to do it to them again.
I am very, very sneaky, sir.
My hidden gem this week is someone you would never expect. Brandon, don't go chasing waterfalls, LaFell. In the 2 games since being activated from the PUP list, LaFell has 7.5 targets for 3 receptions and 36 yards per game, but he has played 79.3% of the snaps. This week, New England plays the Redskins, where LaFell will be covered by Chris I Can't Culliver, who is the 11th worst cornerback in the league. New England is favored by 14 points, meaning they will throw early and put up a ton of touchdowns. A bunch of those targets and touchdowns should go to LaFell. His quarterback is Tom Brady. Do I really gotta tell you any more than that?
Wild card, bitches!
My dart throw this week is Chicago Bears Marquez Wilson. Marquez, spelled M-A-R-Q-U-E-S-S. You know what that stands? That's a special man right there. On the season, Marquez averages 4.7 targets a game for 2.6 receptions and 43.1 yards. But Eddie Royal is out this week. Matt Forte is out this week. And in the 2 games Wilson was asked to step into the second wide receiver position, he had 9 targets, 6 receptions, and 80 yards, and 8 targets, 6 receptions for 85 yards. This week he's covered by Brandon Flowers, who is the 2nd worst cornerback according to Pro Football Focus. And this man is not owned by anyone with his 0.4% owner rate. His name is Marquez. All jokes aside, come on, folks, play the man. I love it when we finish quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, because that means we get to the blue-collar guys, the guys that got the nails, the tight ends.
I'm dead sexy.
My first value pick is old reliable Heath Miller. Now, if you want a huge explanation of who Heath Miller is, go to our last episode and watch it, because I gave him to you last week also. In the 3 games Miller has played with Big Ben, he averages 8.7 targets for 6.7 receptions, 68 yards, and 1 total touchdown. And last week caught 10 balls for 105 yards. This week Miller plays Oakland, who ranks 31st in defending the tight end. Miller also has surprisingly low ownership at 4.8%. With his high target margin and his unbelievable matchup against the Oakland Raiders, who literally can't stop a tight end, this guy is a must play this week. My second value pick hates RG3 more than I do. It's Jordan Reed. In the 4 full healthy games Reed has played this season, he averages 7.5 receptions for 78.3 yards and 3 total touchdowns. And in week 7, had 11 receptions for 72 yards with 4 red zone targets and 2 touchdowns. Reed this season is quietly putting up huge numbers, accounting for 26.5% of Cousins' attempts and on pace for 120 receptions, 1,253 yards, and 12 touchdowns. Those are Gronk-like numbers without having to pay the huge price tag for Gronk. I'm telling you, this is your guy this week.
I am very, very sneaky, sir.
My hidden gem this week is the most proper man in the National Football League. I've introduced him before. It's Sir Charles Clay. On the season, Clay is averaging 4.9 receptions for 50 yards and 2 total touchdowns. This week he plays Miami, who ranks 17th when defending the tight end. And when playing teams that heavily integrate their tight end into the gameplay, Miami surrenders 7.8 receptions a game and 3 total touchdowns. Now, I'm sure you want to share tea and crumpets with Clay at some point during your life, but this week I'm just telling you to start him on your fantasy team.
Wild card, bitches!
My dart throw this week is Austin Seferian-Jenkins. Now, normally I don't trust a guy with 3 names. They seem a bit indecisive. I don't know what to call him. Mr. Seferian, Mr. J. I mean, who's what? I don't know. But this week I like him. In the 1 full game Seferian-Jenkins played this year, he had 5 receptions for 110 yards and 2 touchdowns. And this week he plays the New York Giants, who rank 32nd in defending the tight end, allowing on average 7.3 receptions for 85.5 yards and 5 total touchdowns. He also has the lowest ownership you could possibly have at 0.9%. He plays my Giants, and god damn it, I hate picking guys that go against my Giants, but The matchup is too good. Okay, people, we're getting near the end. It's time for defenses. It's time for kickers. So here they are. Defenses. I like the St. Louis Rams at the Minnesota Vikings. I like the Atlanta Falcons at the San Francisco 49ers. I like the Buffalo Bills versus the Miami Dolphins. And I like the Denver Broncos at the Indianapolis Colts. For kickers, I like Steven Gostkowski, I like Blair Walsh, and I like Sebastian Janikowski. Now that all that's finished, you know, with the value picks, with the hidden gems, with the dart throws, you have money left over. You have elite guys you can go after. So these are the elite guys I like this week. At quarterback, I like Big Ben Roethlisberger, I like Tom Brady, and I like Eli Manning. At running back, I like Todd Gurley, I like Devonta Freeman, and I like Mark Ingram. At wide receiver, Odell Beckham Jr., Antonio Brown, Emmanuel Sanders, and Mike Evans. And at tight end, I only like Greg Olsen. Now the moment every gambler has been waiting for. My ultimate teams. The teams I'm going to play this week. As you can see on your screen now, there are the 5 FanDuel DFS teams I'm entering this week. $1 entries with huge payouts. Now you can see the 3 DraftKings teams I'm entering this week. Again, $3 entry fees with huge payouts. Now, as I always preach, cash games, cash games, cash games. So this is the FanDuel team I'm entering in a cash game. A $10 buy-in where the top 50% get $20. This is the DraftKings cash game I'm playing. Again, a $10 entry where the top half get $20. You all know how I feel about cash games. I'm pleading with you, play them to protect yourself. But, as always, I hope I'm not the only one that wins money. I hope you guys win money too. Again, if you use one of the guys I suggested, or you make an entire lineup, or multiple lineups with the players I've given to you today, tweet at us, bank_breakers. Tweet at us your lineup, tweet at us the amount of money you won, and you might win Bank Breaker of the Week, which could be a myriad number of prizes. The producers grow every week. We get a lot of them. But right now, that's it. We're finished. Finito. So have a good time.